Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and today we are counting down the top 10 $100 or less budget Magic the Gathering decks for the Pioneer and Modern formats from 2022. So before we count down the best budget decks of the year, two quick things. Number one, if you want to download any of these deck lists or see the full gameplay videos of these decks, there's a link in the description. It'll take you an article. It's got all that in there. You can download the list, play them, check them out, do whatever. Also, check out the videos if you're interested in seeing the decks in action. Number two, we've played a ton of sweet standard budget Magic decks this year. However, we're only focusing on Modern and Pioneer, mostly because standard changes so quickly. So we're focusing exclusively on Pioneer and Modern, where all of these decks should still be super playable if you want to try them yourself. That said, you can still see all the standard decks over at MTGGoldfish.com. Oh yeah, and if you need any of these decks, you can snag them from our awesome sponsor Card Kingdom over at cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish. Anyway, let's count down the top 10 budget decks of 2022. Coming in at number 10 on our countdown, we have Free Light Paws for Modern. So Free Light Paws, it's a mono white auras deck built around Light Paws Emperor's Voice along with Core Spirit Dancer and Sram Senior Edificer to draw a bunch of cards. And the idea of the deck is you just play these creatures and sling a bunch of auras and build a massive threat that can smash the opponent to death really quickly. So the deck was kind of medium in terms of just how good it was at winning. We went 3-3 with the deck overall, but there is a huge upside to this deck. The free in Free Light Paws refers to the fact that it's so cheap on Magic Online that you can actually get the entire deck without spending any money at all with the help of the free card rental programs that are available on the client. So even though it's not the most competitive deck and it can get blown out by removal spells, there's certainly a lot of upside here, especially if you're a brand new Magic Online player. Coming in at number 9 on our list, we have Mono White Soldiers for Pioneer. So Mono White Soldiers and Pioneer, that's another one that was kind of medium in terms of just how competitive it was. We went 2-3, I believe, with the deck. Although it is worth pointing out that we played this deck before the Brothers War. If you look at the deck list, we played it right after Dominaria United, so we had Valiant Veteran, but we didn't have any of the really powerful new soldiers from the Brothers War itself. So between cards like Recruitment Officer as a 1-drop, Siege Veteran is a 3-drop, and maybe even some other options like Yotan Frontliner or Gevany Dawn Guard, the deck has gotten a ton of huge upgrades since we played it. So even though it was kind of medium when we played it before, I think it's much better now. So if you're looking for a budget deck that's very upgradable, Soldiers for Pioneer is a really sweet starting point. Coming in at number 8 on our list, we're moving back to Modern for Runveltwhack. So if you follow the YouTube for any amount of time, you know that 8-whack or 12-whack or now Runveltwhack is my favorite budget Modern archetype and probably the best budget Modern archetype. When people ask me, all right, I'm starting off in Modern, I don't have a very big budget, but I want to be as competitive as possible. I don't care what the deck is, I just want a chance at winning my F&M or 5-0ing a league on Magic Online. I usually point people one of two places. One is Mono Red Burn. Burn is just always a good budget archetype. The other is an 8-whack style deck. The plan of just flooding the board with goblins, kicking your bushwhackers, and being able to smash your opponent for a ridiculous amount of hasty damage, closing out the game with direct damage like Goblet Guide and Lightning Bolt, is not only good in Modern now, but it's been good in Modern for a long time. Like, we're gonna see some even better budget decks that did really well this year. You can't beat the longevity of the 8-whack archetype, which has been one of the best budget decks in Modern for a very long time. So if you're looking for just one of the most competitive, most long-lasting budget archetypes that you can probably play today and then play 5 years from now and still have success with, I would definitely point you towards something like Runveltwhack. Moving on to number 7 on our list, we have one of the memeiest decks we played this year, the most expensive budget deck in the history of Modern, and that is Calibrated Blast. So when I say expensive, I don't mean in dollars. The deck is like free on Magic Online. It's like 3 ticks, which another deck you can get for free with the rental programs. It's like $75 at paper. It's most expensive in terms of mana cost, because the goal of Calibrated Blast is really simple. We're trying to cast Calibrated Blast and make it deal as much damage as possible by having the curve of our deck be absurdly high. We're hoping to Calibrated Blast and hit like Auto Chithion Worm, or hit a Blink Moth Infusion, or a Volcanic Salvo, so a single Calibrated Calibrated Blast for 3 mana is hopefully going to be dealing something like 12 or 14 or 15 damage, and since Calibrated Blast has flashback, if we cast it twice, it should just win us the game, and that's all the deck is really doing. It's got 40 lands in it, because we're basically just mulliganing until we find a Calibrated Blast and then hitting these big expensive things. So if you like to meme around and pick up some random free wins, it's a really hilarious option. It's very high risk and high reward. There's some matchups where you just literally can't lose, like your opponent can't interact with it. The way you lose with Calibrated Blast is your opponent countering your Calibrated Blast primarily, or somehow like getting with Surgical Extraction or the Stone Brain, something like that. But there's some matchups where you really feel like you just can't lose. If your opponent can't do those things, it's so easy to win with this deck. On the other hand, if you run into Controller or something, you're probably just getting smashed. Oh yeah, one other thing I want to mention about this deck is it's a little bit better now than we played it, because since we played it, we got Shadow of Mortality. Shadow of Mortality is huge for two reasons. One thing is it's a 15 drop, so it gives us another expensive card, letting us drop a less expensive card like Volcanic Salvo or Blinkmoth Infusion. More importantly, it's dirt cheap, so we can drop something like Blinkmoth Infusion, which is $20 for a playset, and play this bulk rare instead. So if you want to meme around and pick up free wins or really fast losses in Modern, Calibrated Blast, a really hilarious budget archetype. Number 6 on our list, we're going to Pioneer for one of my favorite decks of the year, which is Mr. Plow.
So remember, call Mr. Plow. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
Mr. Plow, $5 on Magic Online, $55 in paper, and this deck is hilarious. The goal of the deck is to smash opponents as quickly as possible with Constellant Dreadnought, this 1-mana 7/11 vehicle that costs 6 to crew. Well, we're getting around the crew cost with stuff like Armed and Armored, which just turns all of our vehicles into creatures. Peace Walker Colossus can turn a vehicle into a creature, so we're essentially getting around this high equip cost most commonly. So this is really like a mono white vehicle aggro deck that reminds me a lot of Hammer Time. It hasn't really caught on like Hammer Time did in Modern back when that was one of our budget decks a few years ago, but these really fast starts and janky just like smash you for so much damage on turn 2, on turn 3 games makes it feel a little bit like that. So I still think this is kind of a sleeper budget deck for Pioneer, and it's one that could end up being really good in the future, and the price is super cheap. Moving on to number 5 on our list, we have our very first budget deck of the year, which was Rockrick Multicolor Boros. So Rockrick Multicolor Boros, as its name suggests, it's a Boros deck built around General Ferrous Rockrick, but the gimmick is outside of Hero of Precinct 1, which is kind of a mini Ferrous Rockrick backup, every single card in our deck that's not a land is a multicolored card. So we have for creature Stride Militant, Figure of Destiny, we got Boros Charms, Lightning Helixes as damage and removal, Heroic Reinforcements to close out the game. So the idea is we play General Ferrous Rockrick, which is hard for a lot of decks to kill thanks to Hexproof from monocolored, and then we just cast our spells and get a bunch of free 4/4s and then smash our opponent with a huge hasty attack from Heroic Reinforcements, pumping our team, giving it haste, making some tokens to close out the game. So if you like being aggro, the deck is actually like oddly competitive in the Modern format thanks to the power of General Ferrous Rockrick. Number 4 on our list, oh, we got a good one, which is One Shot Colossus Surprise for Pioneer. So Metalwork Colossus, this has been one of my favorite budget cards going back to when it was in Standard. We've had some really sweet janky brews with this card, and this is the latest Pioneer take on the deck, and it's really sweet thanks to a more or less forgotten card that came out in Streets of New Capenna, which is Brass Knuckles. Brass Knuckles, it looks like a horrible card, this 4-mana equipment, then when you cast it, you get a copy of it, and then if you have 2 equipment on a creature along with Brass Knuckles, you're gonna give that creature double strike. So as an equipment, Brass Knuckles isn't really good, but it's absurd with Metalwork Colossus, because Metalwork Colossus cares about the mana value of non-creature artifacts we have on the battlefield. It reduces the cost of Metalwork Colossus. So Brass Knuckles, since it copies itself for 4 mana, adds 8 mana value worth of non-creature artifacts to the battlefield. So the idea of the deck is play some random non-creature artifacts, Wedding Invitation or Alchemist Vial, maybe equipment like Gilded Pinions for flying or Honey Cloak for haste, and then we Brass Knuckles, and then we play as many free Metalwork Colossuses as possible using Sanctum of Moving to tutor up more if we need to, and then if we have those equipment, we can give the Colossus haste, we can give it double strike, and smash our opponent for 20 or more flying, double striking Metalwork Colossus damage out of the blue really early in the game. So if you like one-shot kills, and you're a fan of Metalwork Colossus, it's a really fun option for the Pioneer format. At number 3 on our list, we have Mono Black Zombies for Pioneer. So this deck, I think, is one that still doesn't really get the credit it deserves. We played it and went 4-1 in a Pioneer League, just missing the 5-0. And then I've had some people message me, say they played it at like the regionals and actually qualified for regional championships, playing Mono Black Zombies. The deck's only 86 bucks in paper, 43 ticks on Magic Online, and it's just straight up zombie tribal. You're taking advantage of aggressive creatures like Champion of the Parish, a bunch of lords like Lord of the Curse and Deathmere, and good zombie removal like Murderous Rider, and just curving out with a bunch of tribe members, pumping them and smashing your opponent to death. So if you're a fan of tribal decks and not looking to spend a lot of money, Zombies actually a great entry deck into Pioneer that I think is more competitive than a lot of people think. Moving on to our top 2. At number 2 on our list, we have 12 Shadow. This is the 12 Death Shadow deck that we actually went 5-0 with, although we were playing 1v1 games rather than an actual league with the deck at the time. Death Shadow, along with Scourge of the Skyclaves, along with Shadow of Immortality, trying to really aggressively lose our life with Hex Parasite or Spellskite, which can set our life all the way down to 1 or 2, depending on what our starting life total is, for free. So the goal is get our life total low as fast as possible, play as many Death Shadows as possible, and smash our opponent to death as quickly as possible, and the deck just kind of wreck people. We also got to see Hex Parasite do some really sweet tricks, removing counters from Urza's Saga so our opponent couldn't make Karnstructs or whatever. So if you like to be aggressive and you're not averse to a little bit of risk, setting your life total down to like 2, yeah, you never know, you're like a lightning bolt away from disaster. But if you don't mind taking on a little risk, 12 Shadow, really sweet, can make some really huge creatures super quickly. Number 1 on our list, we have what was the most competitive budget deck of the year, which is Mono White Tokens for Modern. So Mono White Tokens, much like 12 Shadow, went 5-0 in our Budget Magic matches. The difference is Mono White Tokens went 5-0 in a Modern League, which is one of the more competitive events that we have on Magic Online. So the idea of this deck was just play a bunch of tokens, stuff like Resolute Reinforcements, Secure the Waste, Gather the Townsfolk, Raise the Alarm, Spectral Procession, go super wide, and then use Force of Virtue and Honor of the Pure to pump them into bigger threats. Plus, as a bonus, you get to Mana Tithe people. So the combination of actually just being shockingly competitive, going 5-0 in a league, and letting you Mana Tithe people, and no one expects a Mana Tithe, brings Mono White Tokens in at number 1 on our top 10 Modern and Pioneer budget decks from 2022 list. So that's my list of the 10 best $100 budget decks from the year. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite budget deck of the year? Did I miss any? Which ones are you playing with? Let me know in the comments, and don't worry, 2023 is right around the corner, and we'll have some more awesome $100 or less budget decks on the way. So until then, have a lovely day, everyone, and a great holiday season, and I will talk to you soon.